Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inside Marketing. Welcome back to our channel. Welcome back if this is the first time you're tuning in or if you're returning. Really excited this morning. Both of us joined in our matching pink knitwear, so loving that. Really excited to be joined by Kat Whitehead, who is the marketing director at Fruition. Welcome, Kat, to Inside Marketing.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
No
Weird being on
problem,
this
no
side of the
problem.
chair.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so Kat and I have been chatting, and obviously in your role as marketing director, frequently have led podcasts, hosted podcasts, being where I'm sat right now. So yes, it must be an interesting experience. But I guess that's part of something maybe we can talk about. But no, really excited to have you here, Kat, and I think. Yeah, you've got obviously a lot of experience in the world of marketing, in your role at the moment, but also kind of in the roles that you've taken on throughout your career. So delighted that you've accepted to be our guest and share that journey with us. And I think there's going to be lots to learn today, for myself, for our listeners. So yeah, thank you for giving your time. It's always so generous when people come on and give their time because I appreciate there's a busy industry to say the least.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And I think because I'm always asking speakers to come on our podcast, I felt like it was
Yeah.
only fair that it's finally my turn to give back. So hopefully I can offer some useful insights that people might find useful.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And I really appreciate that. Well, I suppose then to kick it off, let's kind of pull back the curtain on inside marketing for you. And it'd be amazing if you could take us back to the beginning and talk us through your journey into marketing, what that's looked like. Was it a conventional kind of entrance into the industry, or did you do other things first? And however you arrived to where you are, and what do you do now? That would be great to listen and hear about all of that.
Yeah, so going right back, I when I went to university, I didn't know what I wanted to do, which I think is common for all
Yes.
people going to university at that age. You don't know what marketing is, you don't know what sales is, you don't know what finance is. Um, and I was really into fashion, so I went and I studied international fashion marketing, which I absolutely loved. Um,
Cool.
I loved the fashion side of it. I loved retail. And
Mm,
when I finished university, I thought, I definitely want to go into the fashion industry. And then as
yeah.
I started researching it a bit more, I thought, oh, I don't know if this is for me from a culture perspective.
Okay.
Love marketing, love fashion, but maybe fashion and shopping is my personal hobby rather than a career
Yeah.
choice. And then I should hold on to the
Yeah.
marketing and see where I can get creative and use the kind of stuff that I've learned from the fashion bits, but also what I've learned from marketing and plug that into a different industry. So when I was applying for roles, I wasn't set on, I want to go into recruitment marketing. And I think if you speak to anyone in recruitment, it'd be very rare that you find anyone in recruitment that said, my passion was recruitment. But once
Yeah.
you get into it, it becomes something that you can't get out of. You either love it or you hate it. You're either in it for less than a year or you're in it for life. Um,
Yeah.
so I joined a company called Pareto Law. I think they're just called Pareto
Hmm.
now, which are a graduate recruitment company, and I joined as a marketing development executive. So that was my
Yeah.
first sort of actual visibility of what marketing is in a company. Because even though you studied
Yeah.
it, you think, what does it mean? Is it
Yes.
social
Yeah.
posts? Is it a website?
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah. Is it blogs? Is it
Yeah.
designing
What?
posters? Like what
What?
what what do they actually do all day?
Yeah. Am I decorating the office? What does it mean?
Yeah.
Um, so what became really apparent is it was a very heavily sales focused business, which most
Mhm.
recruitment companies are. So very focused on new client meetings, winning new business. So quickly it was like, right, in marketing, how can I help the sales team? Because that is obviously the key mission of the business.
Yes.
Um, so that quickly was drilled into me that I wanted to be a marketeer that could help the business's bottom line and be really commercial with
Yeah.
what we did rather than just
Mm,
thinking, oh, this is a nice blog post and people might read it. It's like, well, why are they going to read
yeah.
it? Who do we want to read it? What are they going to do when they finish reading
Yes.
it? How can we
Mm,
turn that into a lead? How can we generate that into new business? So I
mm,
really enjoyed my time there and had loads of experience in helping the sales team. And then after about a year or so, going back now quite
Yeah.
a while, just over a year, I got an opportunity to move to a smaller recruitment company, um, where I'd kind of get a bit more visibility over the full marketing mix. So I thought that's
Okay.
a good leap to be a bit more independent, have a bit more ownership over the strategy. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely a big challenge, because I'd gone from being in a team of about, I think it was about 10 of us, to just going to be by myself.
Mm.
But I thought,
Wow,
let's do
yeah.
it, let's jump. It's a smaller business. So I worked at a company called Foundation Recruitment for, must have been there for about 7 years. Learned a lot. When I was there, we launched into international territory, so that involved, we did a rebrand, we launched an international website in all different languages, and it was a case of
Wow.
how can I build the marketing strategy to not only interest our three markets of clients, candidates, and consultants to join our business, but
Yeah.
do that in 4 countries in
Yeah.
all the different sectors and specialisms that we operate in. So it was a steep learning curve, but I really enjoyed it. And I think that's where I sort of started to find my passion and started to get more strategic about things and started to
Yeah.
really see the benefits of the work I was doing. I was bringing in new clients through marketing, which was amazing.
Mm.
So that's where I think the turning point was for me.
Yeah, I
Um,
can imagine. Like that's a bit of a sink or swim moment, isn't it? Where
yeah,
and kudos for you because I think that's a crossroads that maybe at a lot of for a lot of people maybe they would have taken another similar role in another company because actually it's a pretty scary choice to go it alone. But you know you clearly had picked up the skills to make it work, and then you were able to make quite a big step there, which then probably gave you the confidence to say, hey, do you know what? I can do this. Look, I've got the results. You know, I took this from nothing and now I'm generating new clients for the business. Like that's tangible. So
yeah.
yeah, that must have been felt really good.
Yeah, I definitely had a bit of imposter syndrome on the first day. I
Yeah.
was sat there and everyone was asking me questions like, how should we do this? And how should we do this? What collateral should we do? What should we do on social? What blog should we be writing? What should I be
Yeah.
doing? What should I post on LinkedIn to build my personal brand? And I was a bit like, oh my goodness, I am really the
Yeah. Yeah.
expert
Yeah.
here. Everyone's asking
Yeah.
me. Um,
Yeah.
but no, it was, like I say, it was a steep learning curve, but
Yes,
one that I think it was like pivotal in my career. I think if I didn't make that jump, I could have
for
ended
sure.
up getting pigeonholed into, which wouldn't have been a bad thing, but I might have got pigeonholed into becoming a social media expert or
Yeah.
copywriting or something like that. Whereas
Yeah.
that role and that opportunity gave me the strategic element, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, and then I moved over to a company called Cordant Group, which is
Hmm.
rebranded to the Retco now.
Okay.
Um, but when I was there, they had an investment company called 2020 Capital that used to acquire a lot of recruitment businesses. And then my role there with the team that I worked with, we would look at the company. Do they need rebranding? Do they need a new website? Are they
Yeah.
merging with another company? And we'd kind of get them all set up with a really fresh new marketing strategy from
Yeah.
scratch, basically, and then build up from there.
Wow.
So again, it was that was really exciting to get some visibility into different recruitment companies, how they operate,
Yeah,
different
definitely.
markets.
Yeah.
Um, so really enjoyed my time there, and then now I'm at Fruition, which is Fruition IT, which is our recruitment side of the business, and then we have Fruition Consulting, which isn't
Okay.
recruitment; it is IT consultancy and digital transformation.
Mm.
So again, a bit of a change for me, a new sector, but been here for 12 months now and
Yeah.
absolutely loving it. So yeah,
Oh,
I think that's me.
good. Good. Yeah. No, thank you so much for sharing that. And wow, so many, like, you know, a great set of experiences and some pretty big leaps, like you say in there. And so, you know, I think that touches on the the need to have that bravery and that self-confidence in marketing. Like there is a lot of imposter syndrome because there's a lot that we're expected to know and be the expert about. And you touched on that there. I wonder if you can, I know it perhaps wasn't sort of last year, but if you can take yourself back to that moment, because that sounded like a real breakthrough when you were in that second role and people were coming to you and asking for all those things and you were thinking, oh, I don't know about any of that. Oh, gosh, what am I going to say? I feel like a fraud. So what would your advice be now looking back on that for when you experience that inevitable imposter syndrome? Because I think that that's universal for marketing leaders. I think even those who are right at the top of the tree, there are topics that, you know, we could ask them about that in their heads they would think, oh, gosh, I don't know. I know you think I should know, but I don't. So what do you do there when that happens, or what did you do to overcome that?
I think being completely transparent was the first thing. Don't try and
Yeah.
say, I definitely think what we should do is X if you're not sure about
Yes.
it. If it's going to cost budget, if it's going to take money out of the company, if it's going to take people's time and you aren't sure, don't blag it because it,
Yeah.
you know, it's not a
Yeah.
good place to be when it backfires. Um, but then at the same time, if you are sure and you do think, no, this is what I would do, lean on that and really back it up with evidence. So, you know, when you're in those board
Yeah.
meetings, when you're with the directors and they're asking for your advice, you can say, look, this is what I did in a previous role. This is why it worked. This is the bit that didn't work. So I think we need to
Mm,
do something different for that
mm,
element. Either
mm.
present that new idea there and then, or be honest and say, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out. Let me do some research. Let me go and network, reach out to other leaders in the space, try and find some
Yeah.
mentors, reach out to consultancies, research the market, look at your competitors. Have they gone through a similar
Mm,
business transition or growth? And you know, how did they do that?
yeah.
And I think that's the case. You've just got to be really ready to learn and self grow, and have
Yeah. Yeah.
confidence in what you're confident in, but also be willing to put your hands up and say, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find out, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. Thank you for sharing that. I think that ultimately when you're sat at that director level or, you know, you've got a seat at the table and you're making the strategic marketing decisions, you've got to develop that trust. That's also something that, you know, we often talk about. And I think obviously a great way to develop trust is to be transparent and honest. And like
Yeah.
you say, blagging it is never going to get you there because that just that's not a way to build a relationship. And I think that yes, in terms of kind of bringing the data, that's a real tangible thing that you can do to almost dial down that imposter syndrome voice. Because, like you were saying there, you know, bringing real life evidence from when this has worked and observations from what you learned from that experience, because then the proof is there. Um,
Yeah.
and I think also that the point about community and learning from each other, that's really interesting as well. And in a way, that's kind of why we set up this podcast because, you know, I do feel that for senior marketing professionals, it's a little bit difficult. You know, you mentioned networking there, but there's not really a hub. And I'm sure that people make connections and, you know, use LinkedIn and things like that to try and touch base with people. But it's not always super easy to get an insight into how would another marketing director tackle this? They must be encountering the same problem as me. You know, how are they tackling it? How are they having this conversation? So I think that's important, but that's also quite difficult because I think almost the further up the tree you get, you know, there's a lot of community on LinkedIn and events and things like that for people who are starting out in their career. But for people who have risen up, I think it can be a bit eerily silent sometimes,
Yeah.
and
Can be
and
a
there's
bit lonely
nobody
at the
around to
top
ask.
sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's difficult, but definitely is still needed because we learn from each other. Like you say, we learn from each other's experiences. And certainly that's the sort of feedback I get from the podcast. People say, "Oh, it's so nice to just hear someone having the same struggle as me." And so yeah, hopefully you can get that from the other episodes. I'm sure people
Yeah,
will be getting it
definitely.
from what you're sharing today. But it's difficult, isn't it, when you are just the one having to make the decisions?
Yeah.
But I think leaning on others is really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think making sure that you understand the business, the whole business. Don't silo
Mm,
yourself and try and build a strategy like, I think I'll do this for marketing. I think this will look
yeah,
nice. I think it's so important to be involved in the wider business meeting. Where does the business want to grow? in the next
Yeah.
3 to 5 years? What does each team want to be doing? What are their challenges at the minute? Is it getting new
Yeah.
clients? Is it getting meetings? Is it finding candidates? Is it that we can't
Yeah.
attract people to us? And then align your marketing strategy to that to actually support the business objectives and needs rather than
Yeah.
just sort of gung ho in a certain direction, which, yes, useful and I'm sure great for building your brand, but you want to be helping the leaders in the business to make sure that
Yeah.
you're recognized and feel
Yeah.
like you're you're very valuable.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think that, I mean, saying it now in our heads, we're like, yeah, of course we would do that. But it's amazing how many times people miss that step and just actually slowing down and listening and gathering information before you make any decisions is so crucial.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't understood the key problem that you're solving, then you're going to have a misaligned strategy. So yeah, I think that's also something that if somebody is struggling with imposter syndrome, something that's reassuring to hear, because I think when you get into a new role, is that real feeling often I think of having to go at a million miles an hour and having to provide value and produce a brochure or start posting 5 million times a week on social media, because that's what in our heads maybe we think as perceived value, but we know that's not true value. True value is in
Yeah.
6 months, what have we returned? In 12 months, what have we returned? And I guess it's having the ability to say, yeah, do you know what? To achieve that, I need to do research. I need to understand everything. And maybe that's a difficult kind of tension at the beginning, wanting to go fast, but having to slow down
Yeah.
for
And I think that's
marketing
where
leaders.
data really comes into play as well. There'll be a
Mm,
lot of business leaders outside of marketing that might say, "Oh, I've seen a competitor and they've just launched a
yes.
podcast. We need to do that. We need to do that right now." And you might think, "Okay, brilliant idea." Maybe podcast was a bad example because we've launched one that's actually been really
Yeah.
successful. But you might think, "Okay, but it looks good and you've seen an episode that you like, but how many views are they getting on that? How many
Yeah.
people are calling in off the back of that and asking for meetings or new business? How is it helping build
Yeah.
relationships and rapport with their clients?" Um, and I think, again, if you do something on social media and everyone goes, "Oh, wow, that post was amazing. We need to do
Mm,
more like that." And you think, yeah, it was great. And we got loads of engagement from the company, from
yeah.
internal staff. But if you look at the data, we didn't get
Yeah.
much engagement from the people that we actually want to be engaging with. Um,
100%.
so we need to change our strategy to make sure that we're in 6 months, in 12 months, when you're asking me what has marketing done to support business and to support the
Mm,
sales team, I can actually tell you. And it's having that confidence to be able to push back, I think is
yeah.
so important in the leadership position, because it can be daunting if the CEO says, "I think we should do this, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it."
Yeah.
You need to have the
Yeah.
confidence to say, "No, we've done it before, it won't work. This is what we're going
Yeah.
to do."
It reminds me the way you're speaking about it there, and it's so true. And I've got the lived experience as well. We're almost sometimes the fun sponge, aren't we? Because people
Yeah.
come and say, "Let's do this. It's such a fantastic idea." And we've always got to be that slightly boring voice that's like, "Love it, but no,"
Yeah,
and
love
that
that
can be
idea.
difficult. Yeah.
Wish we could do
Yeah.
that, but do you know how much that's
Yeah.
going to cost and what return we're
Yeah.
going to get from it is minimal.
Yeah, and that can be difficult sometimes, particularly because we're often very creative people as well. We love a good idea just as much as the next person, but then it's our job to say, okay, a good idea is a good idea, but a good idea is not necessarily going to work. Does it just look nice, or is it going to perform? So that can be really difficult, I think. But yeah, we love the enthusiasm. Please don't stop the enthusiasm or the ideas. We're very grateful. But no, I think that's yeah, really important. I wonder in your maybe in your role at the moment then, so you say in that 12 months, what I guess if we were to look at your to-do list or your focus kind of area at the moment, what's really kind of big for you at the moment? I guess anything to do with like new channels you've been working on or just a new mindset or a new approach, kind of what's been, I guess, game changing for you in that 12 months, what do you think's had an impact? Be good to know
Yeah, so
about.
I think my role I think as all marketers, everyone has a very different role. It might be quite
Mm.
different. So I'm the only person in marketing in the business. So as marketing director, I'm not only delivering the strategy, but I'm also very hands-on. I'm doing the doing.
Yeah.
So it can feel a bit like, whoa, this strategy is huge. One minute I'm doing the website design, then I'm looking at
Yeah.
copy, then I'm doing a podcast and editing a video, then I'm planning and running an event. So it can feel a bit like you're scattered.
Yeah.
But that's why I love it, because then I think it's
Yeah.
never boring. Every day is different. So I think there's two things. One, I think it is so important that we do continue to post a variety of formats across a variety of channels,
Yeah.
which can be daunting because it's only growing. There's always new tools and tech coming out, there's always new social
Mm.
platforms, and it's staying ahead and making sure that you're visible on them. So, no matter where your audience chooses to digest their information or what type of content they like, if they like a podcast or a video, or if they like
Mm.
a bite-sized chunk or they want a detailed report, we're providing it all. So it's kind
Yeah.
of, I think that's one of the big challenges, but I think that is also the game changer. You're visible
Mm.
everywhere, you're producing really rich content that's digestible in all different formats. That's where you see the power. And also,
Yeah.
it's stretching content. If you've spent time doing a podcast, then make it into a little teaser video, do a write-up blog from it, get some
Yeah.
quotes from them all, really stretch it and make the most out of it,
Yeah.
and you'll get a much bigger reach.
Yeah.
But I think the game changing aspects, if we were to pull them out, one of them is our events, our face
Okay.
to face
Yeah.
events, and I
Mm-hmm.
think there's so many webinars out there and so many
Yeah.
online learnings and online networking meetings, which are brilliant and something that we do as
Mm.
well. And I think
Yeah.
from COVID, it's become everyone's really comfortable. Everyone's comfortable on Teams. Everyone's comfortable doing video conversations. But
Mm.
getting back in a room, it's sort of like, let's go back. People
Yeah.
people are now missing that face to face interaction, and when you meet someone, you remember them better, and you can build a better relationship with
Definitely.
them, and you can have more of a chat just about who they are as a person, what they're doing that
Yeah.
night, if they've
Yeah.
got to rush home for the kids or whatever, and really start
Yeah.
to build those relationships. And
Mm.
the feedback we've had from clients is, we love these events. We want more events. A lot of them are for tech leaders, and just like we've said for marketing, it can be
Yeah.
lonely at the top, and you need to build
Yeah.
that network that you can reach out to peers or mentors or whatever,
Mm.
and ask questions like, I'm in a pickle, can you help me,
Yeah.
have you been through
Yeah. Can you
this?
help? Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and having these events allow people to build their network so that they've got that community of people they can reach out to. So
Yeah.
that's been something that we've found has gone down really well. We're getting loads of conversions off the back of it, um,
Amazing.
and obviously we'll definitely continue.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
other thing that we've really picked up on in the past 6 months is personal branding. So
Okay.
for the individual consultants, building their personal brand on LinkedIn is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
I think there's about 30,000 recruitment companies in the UK, and there's new ones popping up every single day. And everybody in recruitment is on LinkedIn. So if you're not building your
Mm.
personal brand on LinkedIn, you're getting left behind, because
Yeah.
someone else in your market is posting credible content, engaging
Yeah.
with clients that might not be recruiting right now, but when they think to recruit in 6 months, they've had their face pushed in their face, so they're front of
Yeah.
mind. They'll think, oh, Joe Blogs, he'd be good for this. He's always really active. He's always
Yes.
recruiting jobs in my market, or he's always posting advice about this. So we really had a focus on that and delivered a lot of training, and that has massively increased brand awareness. It's made
Yes.
the guys, they're not cold calls anymore. They're much warmer approaches, because people already feel like they know them. You know what it's like
Yes.
if you follow
Exactly.
influencers or
Yeah.
celebrities on Instagram. You start to feel like you know them because they're chatting to you all the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
so I think those two elements are something that we've had a bit of a push on this year, and you can see a making a big difference.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think the LinkedIn side of things, that I think all of us as marketers know that that is a bit of a gold mine if you can get it moving. I think what a
Yeah.
lot of people struggle with is the internal engagement, because ultimately we're asking people to join the marketing team, and we're asking them
Yeah.
to put their time and effort into their own personal brand, and that's potentially somewhat become a bit of a dirty word, and people feel that that's time consuming. So there can be a lot of resistance, can't there?
Oh
But
yeah.
how did you sort of manage that? I guess it's just, you mentioned their training, so it's just through really taking it back to the why and connecting people with that first and foremost, so that they feel like they're going
Yeah.
to get something from it.
Yeah, I think you've just nailed it. Like, there's so many objections when you talk about personal brand with people. I don't
Mm,
have the time to do it. I don't know what to post about. I'm
yeah.
not even active on my own social media. How am I supposed to be active on LinkedIn? I find it really cringe when I
Yes.
see other
Yeah.
people
I'm
do it.
embarrassed. Yeah. Yeah.
What else? I've heard it all. So what I did is I was like, right, let's strip it back. We obviously need some detailed training. So
Yeah.
people need to know what can they post about on LinkedIn. So all the
Yeah.
different post types, you can do polls, you could do kind of some thought leadership, you could
Mm,
do a photo of an event that you're attending, you could do a
yeah.
candidate spotlight, whatever it might be. There's so many different posts, or you know,
Mm,
let's go through all these post types and figure out what you're comfortable with, because you can't not be comfortable with any of them.
yeah.
And I think it's educating people of, it isn't Facebook, and yeah, if you think that's really cringe, then don't post it. Think
Yeah.
what I've had to educate everyone in is, wait, before you post, think, who am I trying to engage with, and would they find this
Yeah.
engaging? Do I know what I'm talking about? Is this something that I am an expert in? Because if you're
Yeah.
not, you're right, it is cringe and someone might call you out on it. But if you think,
Yeah.
no, this is what I'm an expert in, this is who I'm trying to engage with, and I think this will really add value to them, then
Mm,
that's what you should do. And what I found kind of the best way to roll it out and get that buy-in was, right, we need to pick a few people internally who are going to champion this, and who I
yeah. Brand
think,
champion sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, they're bought in. Let's work with them on their content strategy and get them active and actually getting some success from it. So
Yeah.
we did that, and then once we had those tangible successes that we can share,
Mm.
one of the guys in our team, he did a post, tagged a company in it. It was like, this is amazing what this company's doing. The CEO sent them a connection request. Next week they've got a meeting. It was
Amazing.
like, if
Oh,
that if
perfect.
that if that can't convince you to do it, then I don't know what
Yeah,
will. Um,
yeah,
so that's what we did. I just got a few people. Then we wrote down all the successes, presented it back to the business, ran the training out, and it's actually been really, really strong. Really impressed with the
amazing.
team and how many people have been bought into it. In my head I thought, if
Yeah,
I get 20% buy-in, I'll be happy. But I think
that's so good.
everyone's making an effort, so it's been fab.
Yeah, and I think particularly, in the industry that you're in, where relationships are just so important, it's all about, that approachability and that trust with that
Yeah,
individual. Yes, you're working with a company, but you're not really working with an individual within that company, and that goes for a lot of industries. But yeah, it's so important, and like great that you got that initial huge success, because
yeah,
that's what we all know it's going to work. But then you're also sort of thinking, I wish that just one thing would come through, so I have some tangible proof that I can
yeah.
leverage. And
Well,
so
I
that's
know it will
amazing.
work, but I need it to work really fast so that I can get
Yeah,
by.
yeah, just please, just one. But then that's great, because then I can imagine everyone's mindset just shifts, because, any reservations they had, well, actually, you know, this guy in our team, he got a meeting. Oh, it actually does work. And then they
Yeah,
buy into it. And it's one of those things, it's like in primary school, isn't it, when they used to show us that one pencil snaps very easily, but if you put all the pencils together, it's a lot stronger. And it's the same on LinkedIn. I mean, if you
yeah.
all do it together, the compound impact of that for each
Oh
of you
yeah,
as salespeople in a commercial role is huge. So it's that thing of, oh, I'll commit if you commit, go on, then I'll commit as well, and then we stronger. So once they feel that effect, then it just keeps rolling, doesn't it? But it's that initial startup that's difficult.
yeah,
But that sounds
definitely.
great. Really,
Yeah.
really good.
Good.
Keep an eye out on LinkedIn. Um, and I think just rolling back as well, what you said about events. I mean, that return to how things was before is really interesting psychologically, I think, as well. And I think that's similar with things like, mail marketing and
Yeah.
postal and things like that, because that we went off that for so long, and obviously COVID kind of forced us to go off events, and then people were kind of really doubting them. But actually, it's been such a resurgence, and I think those older ways of doing things now are so successful. And I think the psychology of meeting someone, I think you're so right. I think that connection that you make when you're face to face with someone, having a human interaction with all that that entails, because, on teams and things like that, we've learned to really cut out all of the human elements. We just get to the point because we're there at the touch of a button. So we just say what we
Yeah.
need to say and we leave the meeting, and the human elements have fallen away. But actually, marketing and connection making is an emotional process. So without the emotional stuff, are we creating that stickiness in the same way? And probably not. So I think that's really interesting that that's had such a huge impact for you. Have you got a calendar of events and you're very busy with that and you go to a lot now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're running now. We're running 3 events a quarter.
nice.
So we're doing kind of hitting all of our different target markets and one for
Mm,
ourselves. Um, and it's just giving away that the content, it's hosting an event on something topical that we've, we listen to our clients. What are the common challenges that are coming up? What's everyone talking about? And we'll
yeah,
find expert speakers to talk on that matter. Um,
yeah,
it's not, we never use them as something that's like, this is our opportunity to sell to everyone. It's not, it's
yeah,
our opportunity to give something back to the community, build our
yeah,
brand, network with, our clients or potential clients, and just build relationships and value that way. So
yeah.
yeah, so we've got an event on pretty much every month. So
Amazing.
busy,
Oh,
busy.
amazing. Well, that must be a very busy calendar to run. I can imagine with you doing everything, you must have many, many, many plates spinning. But then, like you say, that's as marketers, that's kind of what we love, the
Yeah,
busyness and the variety as well. So yeah, oh, I'm
definitely.
so glad that's all working so well for you. And in the first 12 months as well, it must have been a real busy time.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
whirlwind, and like you say, trying to take that step back at the start to say, I
yeah.
just need to learn the business, learn the markets, learn where we're at, speak to everyone and all the teams, and find out what their challenges are. When
Mm,
I started, it was simple things like they didn't have loads of sales collateral, so it was okay.
yeah,
We need to get the basics right. We need to get some really nice slick brochures, case studies, our services, stuff that you
yeah.
can be sending out after your calls to
Mm,
kind of reinforce what you've said you're an expert in. We are,
yeah,
and they can
yeah,
circulate that to any of the decision makers in the team.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I think, and
yeah.
then one other bit that I guess, along with the events and personal branding, that I forgot to mention but is huge for us at the minute is value add content. So giving
Okay.
reports, whether it's kind of salary surveys
Mm,
or DEI reports or things like that. Again, it's something that can't be overlooked. The market is so competitive at the minute, and if a
mm.
company is not hiring at the minute and they've got no reason to speak to us, you can't just ring them every week saying, "You're hiring now,
No.
you're hiring now, any jobs?"
Yeah, yeah. What a
We
way to
need
break rapport. Yeah,
yeah, it's like
yeah,
we need to keep them warm. So it's
yeah,
like, okay, great, we can talk to them about our events. That's amazing. We launched a podcast about 9 months ago, so that's been
yeah,
a brilliant conversation starter. Being able to not only send that out, but ask if people want to be a guest speaker on it. But then it's
yeah.
having these monthly kind of reports and insights that you can send out that are really tailored to each market and each decision maker that you speak into.
Yeah, yeah,
It's such a key differentiator. So I think as marketeers, the role has really shifted from just, oh, we'll help you create some nice job adverts to go on social and write stronger job
yeah,
adverts to no, we need to start getting really strategic here. Learn the
yeah.
market. What are the challenges? What are the challenges our clients are facing? And how can
Mm,
we actually create some new content to
yeah.
help them?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a lot more complex now, isn't it? We are really trying to kind of develop that, I guess that foundation for sales cycles that can be really, really long, or not even sales cycles, but someone might have a need for us in 2 years. So that
Yeah.
process starts now. And that's quite hard to get your head around when, like you say, how marketing used to be was far more sort of reactive, wasn't it? It's put a post up today, get a lead tomorrow. And it was
Yeah.
it was way more day to day, and it's just not like that anymore. So yeah, that is difficult, but I'm so with you. And also people are discerning, like customers and prospective clients, they see through the set veiled sales approach. They
Yeah.
know what we're trying to do. So, anything like that just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's an interesting thing to consider as well. I'm conscious we haven't got too much time. Before we end, I do want to just get your reflections as well on kind of, I guess, on the flip side, we've spoken a lot about things that you've done and real successes in your role and everything like that. I guess in terms of challenges, either for yourself in your industry or just generally for marketers, maybe if you could just speak to us about one key thing that you feel is something that we're really up against at the moment, and kind of what the future looks like for that issue. That'd be great.
I think looking at the recruitment industry as a whole, because
Mm,
obviously that's where my expertise really lies, the
yeah,
recruitment industry is having a tough time and has done for probably the past 18 months or so.
yeah,
Companies aren't hiring, there's been loads of redundancies. So it has been really, really tough to
yeah,
get that engagement with any clients or candidates, and then on top of that, the recruitment industry has got a bad reputation.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it's known as kind of cutthroat, really pushy sales. Kind of like you
yeah,
go out and get loads of drinks at the weekend, and it's not how it is. So I think it's a kind of right. It's a tough market, and we've got a bad reputation. So
yeah,
we're not in a great spot here. So I think it's been a case of really diving into your marketing strategy and thinking we need to differentiate, and like I
yeah,
said, we need to add value. We can't expect it just to come to us. Our clients are
mm,
struggling, so how can we help them? So stuff that we've done is we've built out EVP, employee value proposition, marketing support, free of charge for our
yeah,
clients. So it's like, look, we'll come in. If you don't have it, we can build your career site. We can get you on our podcast. We can support you with
amazing.
some video work, and it's doing all these additional things that, yes, they're outside of our usual service, and yes, it takes time and it costs a bit of money, but it's tough at the minute, and
Yeah,
clients' budgets are tight. So if we've got and it's competitive, there's, like I say, there's
mm,
constantly new recruitment companies starting up every single week. If you're
yeah,
not willing to sort of go the extra mile, you know, work a bit harder, give a bit
yeah.
extra, you're not going to get very
You won't
far.
get
So
heard.
yeah,
No.
so I think it is a big challenge, but I think if you're strategic enough and you're willing to like
Yeah,
dig deep, you'll really reap the rewards from it. And the
yeah,
good news is the market is coming back around. Companies are hiring again. It seems to be stabling out and getting back to normal, which is fantastic. But you've just got to be prepared to do all of that, because clients will value that now. Now that
yeah,
the now that things are getting cushy again, they'll
yeah,
remember who helped them when it wasn't.
yeah. When it was tough. Yeah. And that's so, yeah, it's so difficult because, fluctuations do happen. And obviously, it's great to be a marketer when the market's going really well and the products or the services are flying off the shelves. But actually, like, what do we do when things aren't so good? And I think taking it back to basics, like you mentioned there, and just saying, it's quite simple. What do our prospective clients need? Or what do our
Yeah,
existing clients need? They might not be able to do business with us right now. There's nothing really we can do about that. So, how are we going to, once again, that long term focus, isn't it? Like you
yeah,
said, building that trust and that relationship so that when they are in a position to do that, when the market's better, or when whatever external factor kind of plays our way, then they do want to, work with us. And that's a difficult mindset, but yeah, and I think you're right with recruitment. I mean, I know obviously there's a it's not as the perception says, but yes, it is difficult to fight against that. But it sounds like everything that you're doing is totally it's the antidote to that sort of perception or reputation, because you're going out there with really valuable content, with great personal branding, creating those genuine connections. It's almost like you've got to take a full understanding of what the problem is, and then what would really solve that for people. If they doubt that we're trustworthy, let's show that we're trustworthy, or
Yeah.
something like that. So it's really understanding how you're perceived and being honest with yourself about that, because I think a lot of the time we can skim over that. No, people don't really think that, or get a poor
Yeah.
kind of view of how we are perceived. But again, go back to the very beginning point that you raised, it's all about honesty. And if we're not honest with ourselves, then we're starting going off in the wrong direction from the beginning. So yeah, challenging, but it sounds like you're tackling it really, really well.
It's challenging. That's what keeps us on our toes, isn't it? Keeps it
It
fun.
does. It does. It wouldn't be the same without a challenge. Because at the
Oh,
end of
it
the day,
get
we're problem
boring.
solvers, I suppose. And that's
Yeah,
what marketing is. It's we've got a problem and how we're going to solve it. And that's kind of what we love, coming up with the creative solutions. So yeah.
exactly. You've summed up marketing perfectly. But anyone that wants to get into marketing doesn't know what it is. We're problem solvers.
Yes, listen to this episode. Well, Kat, thank you so much. And we've kind of come to the end of the time there. And, we've talked about a lot there, from, your role to fruition, and personal branding and events and everything in between. And, thank you so much, because, yeah, recruitment marketing is it's really interesting. It's a really almost an area in its own of marketing, and definitely requires a different approach. And it's really interesting to see what channels and what activities are kind of proving really successful for you in that in 2024. And some of that being a bit of a return to what we had before, which is
Yeah.
just so interesting. So yeah, really appreciate you coming on, and thank you for sharing everything, and very best of luck for the role at Fruition and continued success. I'm sure you've got lots of projects and things on the
Yeah, we've
horizon.
got some big things planned, so
Yes.
it'll all become clear. It's all confidential at the
Yes.
minute, but in the next couple of months, we've got some big projects, and it'll all be released, and I'm really excited about it. So watch this
Amazing.
space.
Amazing. I'm sure it's been a lot of hard work. So congrats on that. And yes, we will watch the space, and keep an eye out for that. And definitely be kind of keeping a lookout for LinkedIn posts and podcasts. And yeah, lots of exciting things going on your side. So we'll connect and see that all unfurl, I'm sure. But no,
Well,
thank you so much. I won't take up any more of your time. Have a great rest of your day and week. And thanks for coming on the podcast.
thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Kat.
Bye.
Bye.